So hello everyone, I hope you're all well, and welcome to this special kind of bonus video. So yesterday was the 105th anniversary of the Easter Rising, the event that is commemorated on this coin from Ireland that you see me find so often. So with that anniversary yesterday, maybe feeling a little bit patriotic, I thought it was a good chance or a good opportunity to show you some of the coins that Ireland used to use before we joined the Euro in 2002. And yeah, I guess when my channel name is Eire Eurocoins, it's probably about time that I did do that. Show you some of the lovely coins that we did used to have before the Euro. So I will leave timestamps in the description if you want to skip ahead to certain points in the video, or if you want to watch the whole thing, that's great. But I think I'll start with just a bit of a summary of Ireland's history with coins. Not too detailed, I'll try to be as brief and simplistic as possible. So anyway, it was the Vikings who I think were the first to mint coins here in Ireland. Of course, there were great raiders as well as traders. So yeah, they minted coins in Dublin and a few other of the cities they founded here in Ireland. And then a couple of centuries later, in 1169, we had the Anglo-Normans come across from England. They of course brought their own system, minted their own coins as well, and it's some of these coins that the harp begins to appear on it. Of course, the harp was a symbol of the Gaelic nobility and high rank, high status, so I guess it was a good symbol for Ireland at the time. An easy identifiable symbol was the harp. And anyway, at that time Ireland was just a lordship title held by the monarch of England, and it wasn't until Henry VIII that Ireland was made unofficially a kingdom, and this was the case up until 1801, when we were formally merged with the United Kingdom of Great Britain, which at the time was England and Scotland. So after 1801, we became the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland. Now, during this time, the Kingdom of Ireland, we did have our own coins, again with harps on them, but it was in 1826 that we stopped having our own coins. We just kind of used the British coins, kind of took over, so their designs was what we used. And that was the case for over a century until 1928. But then, of course, a lot of things happened within that century. We had, of course, there was rebellions throughout the 19th century over British rule, and some weren't successful. We had the famine, the potato famine in 1845, and then we had the Home Rule movement, because we used to have a parliament for the Kingdom of Ireland, but that got took away in 1801. So during the late 19th century, early 20th century, there was a great movement to have our own parliament in Dublin. And this was going to happen until World War One broke out and it got delayed. Now, some rebels wanted Ireland to be a full republic, not under British control at all. So in 1916, a group of rebels took control of important buildings in Dublin and locations across the country, and this is what was the Easter Rising, which took over, as the name suggests, Easter of 1916. Now, at the time, the rebellion wasn't popular. It didn't have popular support because it led to great destruction in Dublin and many civilian lives were lost. And of course, the rebels were defeated and the British rounded them up. But it was the British reaction to it, the brutal execution of the rebellion leaders, that actually changed the opinion of the Irish people. So the rebels, of course, had a political force behind them, and this grew in the years after 1916, when sentiment towards the British kind of declined, and more people wanted an Irish Republic. So in 1918, there was a general election to the Parliament in Westminster in London, and the political party that supported the rebels, the Irish rebels, a party called Sinn Féin, ran candidates for the election, and they ended up winning most of the seats available to Irish MPs for the Parliament in Westminster. But instead of actually going to Westminster to take their seats, they sat in a parliament of their own in Dublin, the first time for over a century that parliament met in Dublin. Now, of course, this wasn't legal at the time, in the eyes of the British at least, but it happened nonetheless. And at that first meeting of the Dáil on Cave Dáil, the first Dáil Éireann, the members declared to the world they were an independent nation and wanted to be recognised as such. And it is from this event in 1919 to 1921 that the War of Independence took place. Not an all-right battle or war, but more of a guerrilla warfare against the British. And in 1921, a truce was called. And this truce led to a kind of peace agreement, something called the Anglo-Irish Treaty, to be signed in December of 1921. And basically the British decided, okay, we're giving you a parliament and you can have the same status as Canada as a dominion, with just ultimate control being held by the British monarch. And this was accepted by the Irish public in a referendum. But most people, it didn't actually give the full control of Ireland. 6 counties became Northern Ireland, which it still is today, while the 26 in the south became its own country. And this country was called the Irish Free State, which was established in 1922. So these are 2 events that I hope will get commemorated on a coin: the Anglo-Irish Treaty in 1921 and the foundation of the Irish Free State in 1922. Okay, so this brings us to our first coins of the country as it is today, the modern country of Ireland. So in 1926, I think, the Irish government at the time decided that Ireland should have its own coins, own banknotes, basically its own currency again for the first time in over a century. So a design competition was held, and the winner was an Englishman called Percy Metcalfe with his designs of animals, which you'll see here. Of course, I will show them in more detail at the time. As well as the design competition for the coins, the government of Ireland also decided to keep the currency tied to the British pound. So that meant we had to follow their system, which, if you're familiar with the currencies at the time, was the confusing system of pounds, shillings, and pence. So basically, Ireland followed that. So if you're not familiar with that system, basically you needed 12 pence, which made a shilling, and then you needed 20 shillings to make a pound. And that's how it worked. So I will go through that system as we go through the coins. Now, there were some variations in the first kind of set of designs Ireland used, just mainly to do with the back of the coin, not the front with the animals. But I will show you with this example. So this is a 1 penny coin from 1928, the actual first year that Ireland minted its own coins. Well, the coins were minted actually in London by the Royal Mint, but I mean, these were the first coins issued by Ireland in 1928. As you can see, the name of the country was Saorstat Punt, which is Irish Free State in Irish. So I know that's kind of an unusual name, Irish Free. It kind of suggests the country was free of Irish people. But no, that was the name given to the country in 1922. And this was the case for 15 years until 1937, when our current constitution changed the name of the country to Eire. So obviously Saorstat Punt no longer appeared on the coins minted after that, which would have been 1939, would have been when the new coins were minted. But anyway, Saorstat Punt, and then the year of issue. Again, as well as the design competition, the government were adamant on having a harp on the back of the coins. Of course, it was an old symbol of the country and was present on medieval coins. So that is why we have the harp still to this day on our coins. And now for the actual designs and the coins that came with the pound, shillings, and pence system. So the first one is this little a quarter pence coin called a fearling or a farding. And on the coin we have a woodcock, which is a species of bird here in Ireland, and it would have been hunted for game. And then you can see the designer's initials there, PM, for Percy Metcalfe. So Percy basically chose designs that were animals all important to the agriculture of Ireland, which was the main part of the economy of the country at the time. So hence why there's loads of animals. So the farding was the smallest coin you could get, a quarter of a pence. And then you have the half pence. So the little D you see there is for pence, or the system was denarius, which was comes from Latin. And then lat penny. Penny is the Irish for penny, so lat is half, so half a penny. We of course have a pig, which most rural families would have owned. And then the last is the 1 penny. So if you know your fractions, for a quarter, you would need two of these to make a half penny, and 2 half pennies to make a penny. So yeah, if it worked for them back then well for them, but I don't think I'd like this kind of system today. So as you would have seen with the other penny here we have an example from the 1960s, but these designs would have been present after 1939. So you just have Eire on the back. Eire and the year. Nearly similar to what it is today on the euros. But anyway, they were the smallest of the penny coins. And then moving on from that, we have some of the larger penny coins. So we have the lat rule. So rule actually comes from Spanish for real, because I think there was some kind of conversion stuff going on in the 19th century, so that's why. So we have a lat rule, and a lat rule would have been 3 pence. So 3 pence would have been 3 of these guys to make 3 pence, to make this coin. And then the rule would have been 6 pence. So either two of these little guys with the hair on them to make this one, or you needed 6 pennies to make this coin. So the rule has got the wolfhound on it, a distinctive Irish breed of dog, and of course, as I said, the little hair. And then you can see Eire on the back of the coins of the year. So moving up, of course, we had a shilling. So to make a shilling, you needed 12 pence. So you could either have 12 of these guys to make a shilling, or even 24 of these if you wanted, and I don't know, 48 of these or something like that to make a shilling. Or the easiest, of course, is you could have had 2 of these to make a shilling, or 4 of these to make a shilling. So yeah, but of course with the shilling you have a bull, and cattle and has long been a very important part of Irish agriculture, even back to like thousands of years. So to give you an idea of the value, just when we turn to decimal, a shilling would have been just 10 pence. So you can get an idea of how the value of these were if this was worth 10 pence. A shilling was worth 10. And then moving on, we have 2 shillings. So 2 shillings would have been 24 pence. So again, I'll go back. You need 24 of these to make 2 shillings, or simply 2 of these to make a shilling. So of course this coin's got the salmon on it, course, fishing is important to Ireland, being an island nation. And you also have a salmon featured in um, one of our biggest mythological stories, the Salmon of Knowledge. And then the last of the kind of shilling coins you have is the latcorn, or the half crown. So I guess if you had a half crown, a crown would have been 5 shillings, but there was no coin for a crown. But on it you can see the horse. But anyway, that was our coins from 1928 to 1971. We used the complicated system of pounds, shillings, and pence. And as well as these coins, we would have had banknotes as well, like I think a 10 shilling banknote, and so on and so forth. But I do not have any of them, unfortunately. So as well as all these coins here, the government in 1966 released this coin to mark the 50th anniversary of the Easter Rising, and it is a 10 shilling coin with some silver in it. So of course I have this in a special case just to keep it clean, but it's unusual in that it actually has a dip in the center. It's kind of concave. Now, 2 million of these were originally made, but they weren't actually very popular at the time. There was a 10 shilling note, and I guess maybe people didn't want to carry around a coin like this. That the government actually had to melt down, I think, 1.25 million of the 2 million that were made just to get the kind of silver content back, which is a shame, really. It's a nice coin. So this guy here is Porrick Pierce. He was one of the leaders of the 1916 rebellion, and of course for it he was executed. And he's the only Irish person, to feature on a circulating Irish coin in our whole history. Up until today anyway. And then on the back of the coin is a statue of Cuchulainn. Now, Cuchulainn is a very famous warrior in Irish mythology. He's maybe our equivalent of Achilles or Hercules, that kind of vein. But this is based on a statue that is today in the GPO, which was the center of the 1916 rebellion. And you can actually see it on this coin. It is the building where that statue is, Hibernia is. So again, if you go to the GPO today, you'll be able to see this statue. Of course, it's got Eire. No, that's not Eire, sorry. Jai shilling, 10 shilling. Jai is the Irish for 10. 10 shillings. There, Eire, 1966. Okay, so that finishes the kind of all the shillings and pence and pounds coins that we had before. So like in the UK, we went decimal in 1971. So we started working in the hundreds. So 100 pence makes up £1. So yeah, much more straightforward than this system. So of course the change meant that we needed new coins. So these are what were made. So we'll start off with the smallest one, which I can't believe existed. This is a half pence. So it's like imagining there's a half 1 cent today. This is the equivalent. So as you can see, it's kind of got a stylized Celtic bird. These would have been designed by Gabriel Hayes. And these halfpenny coins were used up until the 1980s. And then, of course, we have the 1 penny. Again, with another stylized bird. And then the 2 pence. So yeah, that is all the penny coins. And then moving on, you're going to see very similar designs to what was present on the shillings. So we're going to start with the 5 pence. So this would have been the original size they were. And again, you see it's got the bull. And in the 1990s, it was decided to make them smaller. So as you can see, it actually changed also to change the direction of the bull. And actually for a while, because these were still accepted as 5 pence coins up until the 90s as well. So these weren't actually removed from circulation. You could use these two interchangeably with each other until this guy came along. And then we have, of course, the 10 pence coin. Again, there used to be a bigger version of it, and then they made a smaller one in the 90s. And again, changed the direction. And just like the old shilling coin, you could use your old 2 shilling coins as 10 pence coins as well. Again, up until the 90s, until this one came along. And then we have the 20 pence coin. This actually came much later than the other ones. This was introduced in 1986. And as you can see, it carries on the horse design that was on the half crown coin. Again. And then you might notice this is very similar to the British 50p. This was released from the start, unlike the 20 pence coin, and it carries on the design from the little farthing coin with the woodcock. Now it is like the British one, but we didn't shrink our 50p's like the British did in the 90s, so it always kept the same size. And then finally we have the pound coin. And this is like the 20-cent coin, or the 20 pence, sorry. It wasn't present from the very start in the 1970s. This was released in 1990 to replace a £1 banknote. And it's got a completely new animal that wasn't featured on any of the coins before. This is a red deer, which is present here in Ireland. Again, yeah, I should actually mention. Yeah, of course, the harp was present on the back. And just to give you a sense of scale, you can see it is like a little bit bigger than the €2 coins today. And then to compare the harps, you can see it is a very similar style. The harp, but the text is slightly different. You see there's a different way of the style and the numbering. But anyway, that was the regular coins. These were the coins of my childhood. These ones. So, yeah, I was 10, or no, I was 9 when the euro came along. So yeah, I would have grown up using these coins. Okay, so they were the standard coins in use, but we did also get some commemorative coins. Not very many. But in 1988, we got this commemorative coin here, celebrating the 1000th birthday of Dublin, our capital. Now, I will say 988 mightn't be the actual historic or official founding date of Dublin. Some people would argue 840 or older, and that the 1000th birthday would have actually been in 1840, not 1988. But I have a feeling it was because Dublin was hosting Eurovision that year in 1988, and they wanted to add some other big celebration along with it. But anyway, the design is basically the coat of arms of the city of Dublin, the 3 castles, and Ahaclia, which is the Irish for Dublin. Of course, 1000 for 1000 years, and then Dublin. And then in 2000, we got this coin here to mark the millennium. And the design is the Brighter Boat, which is an Iron Age artifact made of gold, which is modeled like a little boat. But I think it's a really beautiful design, and it'd be a design I'd wish was on our standard Euro coins as well. Again, yeah, you can see 2000. Of course, this was only 2 years before we joined the Euro. But anyway, I hope I did justice to explaining the Irish coins, the old Irish coins, and I hope that you enjoyed it. But anyway, that is that. And, well, I always complain that we don't have enough Irish commemorative Euro coins, but in, God, about 60 years, 60, 70 years of Ireland having its own money, these were the only three commemorative coins released. So we're not doing too bad with six in 20 years. I can't complain, really. Of course, hoping that we do get more commemorative Irish Euro coins. So, but anyway, that is that. So, thank you for watching, and keep an eye out for more of my coin hunt videos.